nowadays, lots of cross-boundary interactions are happening, not only in business, but also in government and also the other professional world. And we know that you have rich experience in all those sectors. So how to syndicate those know-hows in different sectors to assist people from those sectors to understand each other better?
Yeah, I think that's a great question that you raise. For instance, if you look at things like finance, which is a huge industry in Shanghai. China has a lot of financial muscle as well. But one of the things for a Chinese company, for instance, Weibo is looking to list in the New York Stock Exchange. It's important that people in other financial centers around the world understand the numbers, so they understand the finances. So it's important to make sure that there's consistency in corporate governance. So I think that's an important point, to make sure that on a global basis, people understand that a company that's operating in China is put under the same level of scrutiny as a company that might be operating in Europe or in North America. Another example is if you look at human resources, the different practices that companies can learn from each other when it comes from how do we retain our talent in North America or Europe or Africa or elsewhere in the world. What can China learn from what other organizations are doing? And part of that means speaking the same language, not the same language in terms of English or Chinese, but in terms of understanding the nuances and making sure that people are clear on, what are the concepts that work in different areas.
Yeah, so in your idea that how China can let the world know China better, because probably nowadays the world would like to know China better, but it seems that it's not easy to understand all those contexts.
For me, I've been to China probably 20 times now over the last 3 years. The first couple of times I came here, I came with what's called myths of China. So the myths I had were things like everyone in China saves all their money.
Okay.
Which to a degree is true.
Saving is a lot.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So from outside of China, people presume in China everybody saves.
Okay.
That's only partially true. I found out that the older generations save, younger generations they like to spend,
okay.
and they like credit. But I think you can only appreciate that by coming here. I call it taking swimming lessons by correspondence. You can do it, but it's easier to get into the pool and experience firsthand. So I think making China more open to more groups of businesses coming to visit, to visit different business leaders and different organizations. You have to see China. And China is not one country. China is many provinces, many different views of China. It's a bit like people saying Europe is one country. It's not. Austria is very different from Germany, which is very different from the United Kingdom, which is different from Spain. And China is the same. Beijing, different from Shanghai, different from Chengdu, Guangzhou, etc. And people, I think, slowly are appreciating this. So, organizations like, UKTI, the China-British Consortium, they try and facilitate trips for business people to come over here. I work with something called the Institute of Family-Owned Businesses. So smaller businesses, both in China and in the UK, who want to do business with each other, but are not quite sure how to do it. And the first step is to learn more about China, forget about the myths of China. One of the things that people say is China is an emerging market, which I disagree with. China is a growing market.
Okay.
China's been here for a long time. And I had some American friends who visited here from a company where I was working with them in Guangzhou. And I asked them to take out some American dollar bills.
Okay.
I said, paper currency. I said, who do you think invented that? And they said, China. I said, yeah, China. But people don't know that. And I think it's quite right for China to point out all the things that China is responsible for. And China is not a new country. China has been around for 4,000 years. And it's okay for that message to go out, to say that, we've been doing business for a long time. We're not an emerging market. We are a growing market in many ways.
Yes, because you are living in quite a lot of continents, actually. So do you believe that we would like to manage international business, we must have more exposure all around the whole world?
I think so.
Living or stay or work overseas.
Yes, I definitely think so. And in many ways that's happening. I've seen some statistics that shows the millions of Chinese tourists who are going overseas, whether it's to Europe or North America. And I think, you know, there's almost a responsibility on many of those countries to make it easier for Chinese tourists to come and experience what is Canada like, or what is the UK like, or Ireland, or Spain, or whatever it might be. And I meet a lot of young professional Chinese who have visited many more countries than I have, which is great. And they have ideas which can only be good for China, in terms of if they've seen an idea in the UK about any particular sector, that they're able to talk about it firsthand. And I agree, it's no different than people need to come to China from outside of China to experience what is happening here, rather than just relying on news or you know, what they read. And similarly, China needs to go out and see that, you know, what America looks like, because again, there's probably stereotypes about what America is about, or what England is about. Not everyone in England eats fish and chips every day, for instance.
Yeah, so you mean that we couldn't know the world from only reading the book.
Yeah.
We need to step out.
I agree. Yeah, that's it exactly. You need to step out and go and visit and get experience. I mean, for instance, I mean, it's not just China. I visit, I grew up in Canada. I visit Canada, and people have asked me, you know, do you ever see the Queen in London? He said, no, the Queen doesn't walk around London like a tourist. But their view is, the Queen's in London, you must see the Queen.
Okay.
But it's something as simple as that.
Okay.